right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the All Love, All Hate Fantasy Football Podcast. This one's going to look a little different. We are over Zoom this week because it being Thanksgiving holiday. We've some of us have gone back home, visit with the family, things like that. So this is going to be our Thanksgiving special, so to speak, coming at you on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. My name is Payton Hedrick. I'm here with Christopher Langley and Jacob Reeder, and we're going to get right into weekly words. All right, kicking it off this week for weekly words, we're going to jump into one of our Thanksgiving matchups, and that is between the Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. Wide receiver CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys last week suffered a concussion during the game. He exited the game, and it basically looked like there was no possible way he was going to come back and be able to play on Thursday with such a short week. Well, now we're getting news that it is actually very likely that he's going to play. He passed four steps of the concussion protocol, and today he went to go in to complete the fifth step of the concussion protocol, which is clearance from an independent neurologist consultant. So we didn't hear any results from that. It probably isn't like an instant test, I would assume. Maybe they have to look into it after the fact, and I'm sure a lot goes into it because when we're talking about players with concussions, it's definitely no joke, and I think they definitely treat it very seriously in the NFL. So there is a possibility that he plays in this Thanksgiving Day matchup, and it's definitely something to watch because if he's playing, we know Amari Cooper is out because of COVID. So if he's playing, CD will definitely be the number one. I mean, some may argue that he was the number one before this, but the way he's been playing. But yeah, so definitely if he's playing, you want to throw him in your roster. If he's not playing, I mean, I don't know if you really trust anybody else to start except for Michael Gallup, really.
I'd probably say Cedric Wilson could be a flex play if you're really desperate.
Yeah.
Or Dalton Schultz if you need him.
Or even Tony Pollard. He's a good receiving option as a flex, even though he'll be used more in the run game.
I agree with that.
Only without CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, that's what I was about to add. And Michael Gallup, without the both of them, definitely skyrockets in fantasy production. He'll be getting not only the majority of the targets, but probably a very large majority of the targets. Langley is going to cover some news on the other side of this game with the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, let's just hop right into it. As you can see, I'm repping the Saints today, even though tomorrow's game is probably not going to go as well as I wanted to. The Saints will be playing the Buffalo Bills for the third and final game of Thanksgiving. It's a 3-game setup. Well, right now, the Saints running back room isn't looking too good. Alvin Kamara, who's missed the last 2 games versus the Titans and the Eagles, he was inactive for both of those games. He was not seen at practice today alongside a couple of the offensive linemen for the team, including Ryan Ramczyk, the all-pro right tackle. But also, although he was seen, he really didn't practice much. I think he mainly just stretched, was Mark Ingram, who is the basically the power back of the duo. So the Saints might be without their starting 2 running backs heading into basically a must-win game if they want to even keep their playoff hopes alive, even though it's been dwindling over the past couple of weeks since Jameis Winston's been out. So right now, their starting running back would be Tony Jones Jr., who flashed in the preseason, but I just don't – there's not a lot of faith there at the running back position. So we could be seeing Trevor Siemian throwing a ton of passes to basically like 2 or 3 wide receivers and maybe Juwan Johnson because Adam Troutman's also out. So right now it just seems like this, if you're in desperate need of a flex, Tony Jones Jr. might be good. He should be available in almost every league because no one really had him even potentially hitting the field. Has had maybe 5 or 6 snaps when you compare obviously to Kamara and Ingram. So that's something to watch out for. I think Kamara is going to be out since he did not practice at all. Ingram is still the one that's in question. I want to say, Payton, you're the one that you said Tony Jones Jr.'s projection right now is at like 4 or 5 points, and that's still with Ingram potentially active.
Yeah. So according to, if you're on the ESPN app, ESPN is still projecting that Mark Ingram is playing. I know that they don't really update their servers until they really know what's going on. And I mean, there was nothing released by the Saints saying that either were definitely out yet. We just know that they didn't practice, and we know that Ingram was at practice. He was just not present for the where the media comes in towards the end of practice and kind of gets their shots and looks at stuff, looks at some of the players and see how they're doing. But that could literally just mean that maybe he had some soreness, maybe they wanted to check something out. I'm sure that not every single player is always in the media portion of practice. Like he may have literally just been inside with on the massage gun or something. So it doesn't seem like it's anything extremely serious, but yes, if neither of them play, Tony Jones Jr. will be the starting running back. And we saw him play a little bit last week with Kamara's absence. Let's see how many rushing attempts he had. He had 3 rushing attempts for 2 yards. So he really didn't do anything. But like Chris was saying, he did play pretty well in the preseason. And I think he'll be all right. I mean, Saints running backs tend to figure out a way. And, Sean Payton just for some reason knows how to light a fire under some of these guys and get guys that some people have never heard of, or some guys that people thought were washed up 5 years ago, and somehow they have a revitalized career and end up getting traded to the Ravens.
Yeah, I think I would, fantasy-wise, if both of those guys are out, I would feel confident flexing Tony Jones Jr. if you had to. But no more than that, obviously, unless you have.
I would say you're flexing him if you are like the Alvin Kamara manager. Maybe it's something you want to hold on to. I'm sure if it was at all possible, you went and got Mark Ingram already. If you're in a deeper league, maybe just pick him up. And, I mean, who knows? Maybe he's pretty young. Maybe he ends up doing something crazy or whatnot. I mean, this is a good way to kind of get a jump start on some of your opponents in your leagues, maybe picking up that guy that no one thinks is going to be worth anything. And who knows, Thanksgiving night, maybe he pulls something out of the bag of tricks and gets 6 touchdowns.
That'd be incredible. But if that were to happen, I don't know what would happen to this podcast. We would just be that would just be like this big story. You'd basically be pulling a Jonathan Taylor for the this week's fantasy matchup. But yeah, so in other news though, Jacob, do you want to hit us with the other news that's been occurring this week?
Yeah, so more running backs to talk about in the league. It's a lot of stuff going on. So Kareem Hunt was just lifted off of the IR, so he can be activated within a 21-day window. I believe it happened either today or yesterday. So it gives him 3 weeks essentially to lift him off and have him back on the active roster, which is good news for fantasy managers and for the Browns. They're looking to push to the playoffs, hopefully get a wild card or even potentially win that division, and fantasy managers just to have your guy back. A lot of them just relied on Kareem Hunt more than you would think. So good news to see there. I doubt that he's going to come back this week, but potentially next week or the week after that, Kareem Hunt should be back.
Yeah, and it should be mentioned the Browns are on bye next week. They're playing the Ravens this week. They're going to be on bye, and then the week they come back, they're playing the Ravens again. So they're technically playing the Ravens back to back, and those are 2 very important games because it's division rivals, especially with the division this close as is at the point of the season.
Yeah, so I could see Kareem Hunt coming back right after that bye easily. So that's good for fantasy managers. A bad situation for fantasy managers. Michael Carter is out for 2 to 3 weeks or so. I think it's some type of lower ankle injury or something like that. He's out for a couple weeks. Should see Ty Johnson, potentially. I believe Tevin Coleman was lifted off the IR, so he's the RB2 there. But Ty Johnson's the guy seemingly that you want to have if you have to start a New York Jets running back, which in all honesty, I wouldn't necessarily want to do, but he could get the touches that you need to help you in fantasy, get a touchdown or so. So Ty Johnson is up to RB1 in New York and potentially an RB2 in fantasy. And also Adrian Peterson was waived by the Titans. So Deontay Foreman, I believe is his name, is seemingly the starting running back there. And they took Dontrell Hilliard off of the practice squad, activated him to the full active roster. So those are the two guys there that if you need a Titans running back, look for Foreman, especially on your waiver wire. If he didn't get picked up through waivers this week, he could be a solid starter for your flex if you need somebody there. But other than that, I think that is all our weekly words for this week. We're going to get straight into girl talk.
All right, so this week we have the segment that's been out the past 2 weeks. We finally brought it back. This week we're going to be talking about some fantasy matchups that are going on this week. We're currently in week 12 of the Fantasy Football League with playoffs just a couple weeks away. And right now it's pretty close between a lot of these teams. We have a lot of teams that are tied or are currently going head to head for basically one of the 7 seeds for playoffs. We actually have one team that already has secured the first seed, and that is the undefeated Ashton. But we'll not be getting hit to him this week because he actually has a bye this week, which really helps his chances. So the first matchup I'm going to talk about this week is between our two friends, Trey and Amani. And we're going to throw up the matchup on screen for you guys to see, so we don't have to list all the names. So this matchup is going to be pretty important. Amani just came off a major win against Payton's team, with Payton basically being the second team in the league, just behind Ashton. And Trey, who's a guy who literally said he was going to be tanking this season, he is now potentially making a legit playoff push. So this is a really key matchup to watch. There's definitely some key players to keep an eye on. But for me, on Amani's team, that is the Texans running back, David Johnson. The reason I say that is because I don't know if we mentioned this in the weekly words or not, because we did have a ton of news break. Philip Lindsay was just cut by the Texans, and he was just signed by the Dolphins off of waivers. So Philip Lindsay will now be sharing roaming the Dolphins backfield with Myles Gaskin and Savannah Med. So David Johnson, I think, is going to be a very important player this week. I don't think he's going to put up 2016 David Johnson numbers, but I think he'll put up enough numbers to be a bona fide flex. And her current flexes at the moment are AJ Dillon and Mike Gesicki, because she has Aaron Rodgers, Leonard Fournette, Deontay Johnson, Jalen Waddle, and Kyle Pitts as definitive starters, even though Aaron Rodgers is also dealing with his toe injury. On the other hand, Trey has probably one of the best starting lineups in the league, despite him being 5-5. I mean, he's got a great running back duo if they stay healthy for the most part, which is Cook and Saquon Barkley, or Dalvin Cook and Saquon Barkley. He's got a good receiving core. His tight end's one of the most underrated ones in the league. That is Mark Andrews. The only thing is his flex is Rex Burkhead, which is another player I guess to watch out for. Maybe Johnson doesn't get all the touches. Maybe Burkhead does under the Texas system. So in this matchup, who do you guys think is going to win? This is a very important matchup, and really the winner of this might cement themselves in the playoffs. What do y'all got?
So I think this could really go, either way. I expect AJ Dillon to play pretty well. David Montgomery to play pretty well. But I think really what it's going to come down to, if Amani really wants to win this game, well, obviously, we know she's going to want to win, but what it's going to take for her to win this game is she's really going to need to see Leonard Fournette show up and have a pretty good game. I'm not saying outrageous, go get 2 touchdowns, but we did see Leonard Fournette kind of split more snaps than we've been seeing recently. So, if he's not getting those red zone touches, he may be a little bit iffy because, I don't know if he's really the guy that you expect to get those breakout runs anymore, like you saw early in his career in Jacksonville and even at LSU. He was explosive in that offense too. But so I think we really need to see Leonard Fournette play really well. And Atlanta to literally do anything. Kyle Pitts is targeted, but they just can't really figure it out. So, she's probably got to move some people around in the lineup that she's got already. David Johnson may go in over Gesicki. She's also got Ty Johnson, who we were talking about earlier, that she could also flex because he will be the starting running back for the Jets. And you may not think that's a great matchup, but keep in mind they are playing Houston this week, so I'm pretty confident he will have a decent game. On the other side of things, what Trey's going to need to win this game is really his running backs, Dalvin Cook and Saquon Barkley, to finish the game. You know, they got to play through the whole game and put up some yards and put up some points. And I think if they both find the end zone, then he'll win because they are great running backs. They have their ups and downs. But all that being said, I think the luck is going to stay on Amani's side, and I think Shu will pull out the victory this week. It's going to be close, though. Probably going to be another one that comes down to the Sunday night game. Let's see. Do they have anybody playing in the Sunday night games?
The Browns versus Ravens. Trey's got Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews in his starting lineup. They both teams will have their final score will be revealed by Sunday night. There is no Monday matchups in either team that is in the starting lineup.
Yep, and it's gonna come down to that last game most likely. So it'll be a good one. I like that matchup. Jacob, what you got?
Yeah, I think Trey obviously needs his stars to show out. Cook and Saquon, Lamar Jackson being the same thing. Like you said, I would see that Amani probably is going to have to rely on her running backs this week. She's got her starter in David Montgomery and Leonard Fournette, and then she's got a couple of guys like what you're saying is Ty Johnson and AJ Dillon, who are backups that are proving to put in some work over injuries. So if she can use that to get over the hump this week, that'll really help her out. I'll say Trey gets the win with his star talent though.
And I didn't give a winner from mine, but I do think it'll probably be Trey. My only concern for him is he needs to rely really on those receivers. I always said receiving core is good, but it's also a bunch of guys that could literally be on or off any given week, with that being Keenan Allen, Brandon Cooks, and Chase Claypool. So I think Trey can get it, but if his receiving core does not show up, because we know what his running backs, his quarterbacks, and tight end can do, his quarterback and tight end can do, I think Amani will potentially pull off the win. But if I had to give a choice right now, it'd be Trey. So what other matchups do we got this week, boys?
So jumping into my Bourbon Bowl matchup for the week, it is going to be the Leftovers managed by Reed Darcy versus Big Patterson managed by Logan. This is going to be another close game, and if you look into our league, it looks like Reed may be kind of out of hope at this point. He is 3-7, but currently right now the last place in our fantasy playoffs is a team that is 4-6, which is Amani's team. So in this week, we could see if Reed pulls out a win, him jump from the 9 seed all the way up into the 7 seed, because he does have a lot of points scored, and he's been his team's all right. I mean, they've been playing pretty well, but he just has some unlucky matchups is basically what it comes down to. But this matchup this week, I gotta get back to it. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so this matchup this week, Reed's got Jalen Hurts, James Robinson, Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, Latavius Murray, Brandon Ayuk, Dawson Knox, and Terry McLaurin. So he's got a great starting lineup. What is crazy is that he's actually getting away with starting 4 running backs on this team, going against who he calls himself is the RBU, having Miles Gaskin, Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, and Cordarrelle Patterson on his starting lineup. But I really think that Reed can pull off this win because, like I was talking about with Kyle Pitts, Atlanta has been having trouble finding that groove. So I think Cordell Patterson is a big hit or miss. Zeke should have a pretty good game. I'm sure Eckler will have a pretty good game. Gaskin is not very good. I probably wouldn't even have him in my starting lineup, honestly. And I mean, we've seen Darren Waller have his ups and downs. And I believe he has A.J. Brown starting right now, but I believe A.J. Brown may not play this week as well. So,
according to ESPN, because I'm looking at it right now, he was not spotted at practice Wednesday. It was labeled a chest injury.
Yeah, I do remember hearing something about that. So he may have to move his lineup around a little bit as well. But he's got Cedric Wilson. He's got who else? Jordan Howard doesn't mean anything. Kenneth Gainwell doesn't mean anything. So
he's got Alex Collins though, with Chris Carson out after the season. That might be, it's not the best option, but it is, well, an option.
Yeah, so I think with the few injuries that he's got going on and just some of these guys that were doing really well in the beginning of the season that I just don't see putting up crazy numbers this week, I really think Reed can squeak out a win right here. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'll go first. I did notice this just now. Reed does have on his bench because wasn't he? I'm pretty sure he was inactive last week. If not, then I just don't remember him putting up many points. Marquise Brown's on his bench. He could throw him in for Latavius Murray because I think Devontae Freeman's starting to take the starting gig in Baltimore. I looked at his projection a little bit this morning, and it looks like Devontae Freeman had like 10 or 11 projected points, which usually probably wouldn't have guessed from a Baltimore Ravens running back, considering they have a carousel going on right now between Freeman and Latavius Murray. I would say Le'Veon Bell, but he actually got cut about a week or so ago. So right now, I think Reed's team can hold its own, but Eckler is coming off a monster game that was really overshadowed by Jonathan Taylor's monster game last week. Both had really good weeks. Actually, they've had not really good weeks. They had elite weeks. Both got 4 touchdowns with Taylor getting 5. So I think it really will just come down to like how Big Patterson's, I guess he changed his name from RBU back to Big Patterson. It'll really depend on how those running backs do. Reed's team can definitely put up the points. It's just whether or not he can put up enough points to beat the other team. That seems to be really the problem this year. It seems like every week he does well, the team he's playing has a monster week. So I think it'll just come down to that. If I had to pick though, at the moment, just because I don't know how AJ Brown's going to factor in, because anything is very possible, I'm going to go with a kind of a hot take here and go with Reed. But I could also see Big Patterson winning as well, very like easily as well. So I'm going to go with Reed on this one. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I'll go Big Patterson. Just he has more depth and he's just got more talented players. I think Eckler and Zeke will probably have great games. Stafford is going to be a shootout most likely against Green Bay, so that'll help him out. But yeah, I'll take Patterson. Payton, did you pick one?
Yeah, so I had already picked Reed. I said I think Reed's going to get the win on that one.
All right.
Okay, so 2-1 for Reed. And I think that's kind of all the matchups that are big this week. One thing we could bring up is actually our special guest who will be bringing in a little bit, our 10-0 team, which is Ashton. His team is dealing with a little bit of running back trouble because both of the starting running backs are out for the season. That would be Derrick Henry and Chris Carson. So at the moment, he will get, I want to say Darrell Henderson, if I remember correctly.
Traded away. Unfortunately, had to trade away Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
But he got Darrell Henderson
and a couple picks. I think he got a first as well, along with I think actually it might have been 2 firsts. Might have been one this year, one next year. I'm not 100% sure because I didn't get to read the full trade. But so right now, Darrell Henderson's literally and Elijah Mitchell are his 2 best options. So this is definitely a team to watch because it's a team that's 10-0. But as some people in our league have pointed out, I will not be naming names here for confidentiality reasons. His points against currently is 810.7. The next lowest points against, which is Trey's team, is 959.92. So Ashton's points against are 150 less than the second lowest. So that's something a lot of people have been like pointing out in our leagues, like, oh, it's just been he's been easy matchups here and there. It's not now, granted, he is putting up a good amount of points. If I remember correctly, let me see one. He has the fourth most points for this season. So it's not like he's not putting up points and getting lucky every week. So that's really kind of like the biggest thing this week is he's the number 1 seed. So he's going to have the bye, but how strong of a number 1 seed will he be? Guess we'll find out. But I think that's it for Girls Talk, unless you guys have anything y'all want to add.
No, I think that's everything. And that's going to bring us into our next segment where we're going to bring in our special guest, and that's going to be Bourbon Bowl.
All right, straight into our Bourbon Bowl picks. This is the Thanksgiving Day edition of our episode, so we're going to go all Thanksgiving Day games and let you know who we think is going to get to take a bite out of the turkey leg at the end of the game. I'm going to take the first game of the day, the early game, Lions and Bears. Two not so great teams this season. Obviously, the Lions haven't gotten a win yet. I believe they're like 0-9-1. And the Bears have like 3 or 4 wins. But Justin Fields has been looking a lot better as of late. So I'm going to pick the Lions to win this game. I think they're going to get their first win. Nah, I'm just kidding. Justin Fields is going to show out on the big day. He's going to eat up. He's going to throw a couple of touchdown passes, maybe get some Darnell Mooney action in there. And the Lions are still going to have their sad season on their loving Thanksgiving Day game and leave sad, but go have some nice turkey after the game. So I'm going to take the Bears. What you guys got?
Hit him with the reverse card.
I just want to say that I completely disagree with everything you just said. The Detroit Lions are going to win easy. They're going to walk all over Chicago because it is Thanksgiving Day. DeAndre Swift is going to lead the stadium with 2 turkey legs, 1 in each hand, and he's going to be eating that W.
Yeah, this game might be interesting if it's Andy Dalton versus Tim Boyle. That's something to watch out for. That will be an interesting game to watch to start off Thanksgiving Day. I think just as a safe bet, I'm going to go with – I want the Lions to win really badly because I really like Dan Campbell as a head coach. But I think I'm just going to go with the Bears because I just think the Bears will be more prepared with Andy Dalton because at least he was the starter. And I just feel like even though they don't have Khalil Mack, the Bears defense can still hold its own, especially against a division rival. Our special guest, Ashton, who do you think will win that game?
I think I'm going to go with the Lions too. It seems like a lot of games this year, the most obvious games you think where somebody's going to win, they get upset. And I think the Lions just have a chip on their shoulder. So hopefully they can finally, get a dub here. But I don't like the Bears too much either, but the Lions have had some close games that shouldn't have been close. I think if they got a better quarterback, they would at least have, maybe 2 to 3 wins under their belt. But I'm going to give it to the Lions. I hope they can pull one through. Cause it's just sad watching them lose every week. It really is at this point. Like, it's not even funny anymore. It's really just like, God, like at some point you just got to give up, man.
At least they won't be going 0-17. At least they tied the Steelers. So there's a silver lining. All right. So our second Bourbon Bowl, well, that will be Payton's game. Payton, hit us with it.
Yeah. So this is going to be the next game that comes up tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day. And that's going to be Raiders at Cowboys. So I think this is going to be a little bit better game. We're starting off the day a little slow with the old toilet bowl matchup to get things rolling on Thanksgiving Day. After you watch your little Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade and you put the turkey in the oven, you go watch your boring game besides DeAndre Swift. Then we get into Raiders versus Cowboys, a little bit of bigger boy action going on there. And I'm going to look into this a little bit more, dive into it a little bit more. And I'm going to talk about the quarterback matchup between Dak Prescott and Derek Carr. And quite frankly, it's not much of a matchup at all because Dak's going to eat tomorrow. CD's going to play. He's going to have a great game. and Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, and Tony Pollard are going to be eating turkey legs after the game tomorrow. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go on this one. I'm gonna go Cowboys too. Probably gonna go down to the casino, put a little bit of money that Zeke's gonna jump into the Salvation Army pot again. I think that he's gonna eat, and everybody's gonna have some turkey legs, like Payton is saying after this game. I'll go Cowboys.
Got to keep the traditions alive with Zeke jumping into the Salvation Army pot.
I mean, it's a
I
safe.
think it's been a couple of years since he's done that.
It's a safe bet at least. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Cowboys too. I thought Cowboys were gonna win against the Chiefs last week, but the Chiefs did manage to survive. Cowboys didn't look that good though, which was a little alarming considering the Chiefs defense isn't that good to begin with, at least compared to their offense. So, but I think the Cowboys can hold their own. They always seem to hold their own against well, on Thanksgiving, they usually hold their own. They play every year on Thanksgiving, which is a good thing. However, they did lose the last couple of years. Last year, they lost to Washington. They did lose to the Chargers a couple of years ago. But I think they will have the Raiders' number for this game. And I think the Cowboys will be able to pull off the win to keep their division crown hopes alive. Ashton, who do you think will win?
I mean, straight up, man, the Raiders are going to be in the Super Bowl. So absolutely Raiders win this game. It's going to be a blowout. It's not even going to be close. Raiders are going to take it by a mile, man.
Fair enough. Forgot we have the number one Derek Carr fan in the call right now. All right, so we'll now go to the third game of the Thanksgiving Day, a game that I thought was going to be exciting, but now I'm starting to lose more and more hope in. That will be the Bills versus Saints. I'm actually going to be going to that game tomorrow night with my fellow fantasy football player, Reed, as well as a couple other people. So this game, the Saints, at the beginning of the season, I thought this would be the game to watch. This was going to be the game like everyone was going to look forward to on Thursday night. But right now, it doesn't seem like it's to be that way. One, Saints are missing Jameis Winston. Trevor Siemian is still going to be the starter. Although Taysom could come in at QB, who really knows. But Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram are probably most likely. I think Kamara's already officially out. If not, he's more than likely going to be out. And Ingram, I don't think is going to play. So it's literally going to be
Kamara is officially out.
Yeah, so we're either going to see Ingram or a third string running back playing with a third string QB, basically. No offense to Trevor Siemian on that. So, and the Bills are still healthy. As much as it kills me to say it, I'm going to have to say the Bills will win in the Dome. And I know I'm making one Buffalo Bills fan pretty happy. If they watch this, they know who they are. I cannot believe I'm saying that, but it is what it is. I think the Bills will win. What do y'all think?
I completely agree. Sadly, big Saints fan, but I think without starting running back, without your starting quarterback, I mean, Adam Troutman isn't like the biggest deal, but you're without your starting tight end. I don't think the offense is gonna. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. See what they can put together, but I don't think it's gonna be enough to defeat the Bills' defense. And Josh Allen is gonna be eaten tomorrow. He's gonna have a 3-touchdown game, and Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Zach Moss will be eating a turkey leg tomorrow after the game when they win.
Yeah, I agree. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox, they're all going to torch the Saints defense.
You can't forget big dog Zach Moss himself.
And maybe a little pass in there to big dog Zach Moss or Devin Singletary, whoever's out there. But Josh Allen's going to be slinging it, and I think the Saints will look pretty silly, and the Bills will be eating turkey legs at the end of the game. Ashton, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the Bills should win. But I mean, then again, like 2-3 weeks ago, they lost to Jacksonville. So I think it's one of those things, like I was saying earlier, you know, obviously the Bills are the favorite, but we've seen a lot of games this season where the favorite has gone scoreless the whole game, you know, 0 touchdowns. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints won, but I definitely think the Bills will win.
And that hurts. 4-0 on the Bills. That's going to be some it's going to be a long night tomorrow night. But hopefully being in the Dome will be fun. All right, close us off for the Bourbon Bowl segment. Ashton, hit us with the game you got in our fantasy league.
Yep. So I'm gonna be going back to our fantasy league for this one, and I'm going to pick the game between Jacob and Sean. At least in my opinion, Sean's been top 3 team all year until he started losing some games towards the end, and Jacob is currently the hottest team in the league. So I think it'll be really interesting to see which one of them can cement that kind of within the top 5 spot, because they both are. What spot is Sean in? I don't know, but he's close to top 5 if he's not in it.
He's like third place right now.
Yeah, I think, and I believe Jacob's second. So
if you're referring to the rankings, I believe Sean's 4th because Jacob's 2nd and Payton's 3rd. Sean's at least in the top 5 for sure, though.
The top 5, and I think this will kind of cement either one of them to be in top 3. So I'm going to pick that as my Bourbon Bowl. I think it should be a good game, hopefully. Right now, the projected points are pretty close, but I believe Sean is waiting for a trade to go through because he doesn't have one player in. So it should be like really close projection wise. But I wouldn't be surprised if this game went into a really high scoring game.
So who do you got winning the game?
I think I'm gonna give it to Jacob. Jacob seems just on too much of a roll right now, and it doesn't seem like he's slowing down anytime soon. Obviously, his can't put up 50 points every week, but last week he literally had close to 90 points between 2 players, between his QB and one of his running backs. So I mean, that's kind of hard to stop. It's not. And one of his players also had 0 points, and he still scored in the 150 range. So I do believe Jacob will win, but I think this will kind of prove which one of them should be in the spot they are.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to win this matchup this week. I mean, Jacob's team. My bad.
Yeah, I'm going to probably go with that as well. I mean, Sean's not going to really have any major running backs in. I mean, his team's good. It's just the running backs are kind of like the one like blight on his team. And I think Jonathan Taylor is actually the new offensive player of the year candidate, maybe even in the MVP conversation now. And I think, I mean, granted, he is playing Tampa Bay, which is one of the best rush defenses in the league, but I think he'll handle his own. And Jacobs, I mean, both teams looking to make the playoffs for the first time in our league's history. So it's going to be a good game, but I think I'll give it to Jacob. Jacob, I know you're playing Sean, but do you have anything to add in this game?
Yeah. I don't think I'm full clear out of the water yet. I think this is going to be a good matchup, and I'm just saying I'm happy and looking forward to watching it this weekend, watching it play out. But that does our Bourbon Bowl picks. As you guys know, the Mud Dogs did win the Bourbon Bowl, and they probably ate turkey legs after. So we're going to get straight into our hot takes to close out the episode.
That's a spicy meatball.
All right, let's get right into the hot takes. Our special guest, Ashton, he's going to be the one to start us off this week. So what's your hot take?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tony Pollard scoring 2 or more touchdowns. The Raiders are probably the best team in the league, but the Cowboys are also a very good team. So, and Zeke was having a little bit of trouble. So I feel like he might lose a little bit of time. And Tony Pollard is such a great player. I think if he just got the opportunity, whether it was on the Cowboys or any other team, he would be an outstanding player. So I'm going to go with, they give him a little bit of a shot here on Thanksgiving, and he shows up.
Yeah, I'm surprised your hot take wasn't Derek Carr throws for 5 touchdowns. Let's be real on that. I mean, that's a fair hot take though. Tony Pollard is a guy who's been on the rise. Definitely a good RB2 punch with Zeke. We'll go to my hot take. This will be in the same game that I chose with the Bourbon Bowl. And by the way, I finally got my first win last week. Let's go. Even though it was a really cheap hot take, Tua throwing 2 touchdowns, and Payton got his hot take as well. So Payton's now 2-6, and Jacob and I are both tied at 1-7. We'll update that next week after our hot takes for this week. But back to the hot take, Bills and Saints. I got Josh Allen throwing 3 or more touchdowns, throwing, not rushing, because he can definitely get in the end zone with his legs. I think he'll get 3 passing touchdowns, because I think the Saints defense will start getting gas pretty quickly. And as much as it pains me watching the Saints lose, I do have Josh Allen in my other league, so it's not a complete loss. Payton, what you got?
So I'm going to stick with the same game being the Saints and Bills. Sorry. And I'm going to be on the Saints side of the ball. And my hot take is that Saints wide receiver Traquan Smith, who is arguably maybe the number one receiver in New Orleans right now. He's been getting quite a few targets, and although he's only got 2 touchdowns on the season because he's been dealing with a few injuries, but in the last 3 weeks, he's been wide receiver number 20. So we see a little trend of him going upwards, a little bit more targets, whatever. But I'm going to say that he's going to be a top 15 wide receiver this week. I think if the Saints, want to put up some kind of fight in this Thanksgiving Day matchup, they may need to find him a little bit more. And I think that if he gets those targets, I think he'll make something work with him. I think on the season, he's averaging 12 yards per catch. And so it's pretty good. I mean, not insane numbers, but I just think this is a pretty good matchup for him this week.
All right, I'll close it out. I'm gonna go back to Thanksgiving Day games, and I'm gonna pick somebody on the Cowboys also. With Amari Cooper being out and CeeDee Lamb being questionable, I'm gonna pick Dalton Schultz to be a top 5 fantasy tight end in half PPR scoring this week. Playing a Raiders team hasn't been great against the tight end recently, and I think he's gonna be in the top 5. So if you got Dalton Schultz, play him on your team. That's going to be it for our hot takes. Langley did get his first win last week for hot takes, so we're not all winless now going in, but we'll see how they come out next week, and we'll tell y'all how it went. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Ashton, our guest, for coming on and hanging out with us for a few minutes, giving us your insight. Appreciate it, and we'll see y'all next week. Adios.